Good. I love what you're representing back there.
Yep. Wait, I don't know how to do this shit. There we
Yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Welcome to
Yeah.
the No Idea Zone. And my guest today is Trevor Cavallo, the great comedy proprietor. We're gonna get into his we're gonna get into we're gonna unpack a bunch of shit today. But how are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm really good. Here in Austin, been here since October. I've been doing comedy, performing, produced one show, and I actually secured two new rooms this week and working on my third room, which has just been shut down because of everything going on. So once things lighten up, I guess I'll have be running three rooms down here. So
All dojo.
um,
All dojo.
actually, not yet. I'm running it under a different name, Corrupted Comedy, because the dojo, the actual intention of the dojo was to have it as one room or club full time. So until I find something full time, 5 days a week, 5 nights a week, I'm just kind of doing my own off brand. And yeah, when I get something full time, either a room or a club, it will go back to the dojo. ATX is kind of what I named it. So yeah, it's just kind of on hold. It's the philosophy and a vision that Sam and I both agreed upon would be best is to have something because that way it's not a brand or a show. It's more of a room and a club. So it's like a comics in town on a Monday and they want to drop in. If I don't have a show, then it just kind of negates the whole idea of having it as a full-time workout room. So yeah,
So,
but yeah, it's
so
going
you're gonna
good.
have for those of you who will be watching this who don't really kind of understand the difference between Trevor's in Austin. He's from Chicago, like me. He's in Austin. He was in LA. That's where we met. Proprietor of this amazing underground sort of I mean, hard to explain because it really weren't any other comedy clubs like the Dojo in LA.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic hit, obviously everybody shut down. The bar went out of business. The Dojo was in. It had two rooms. It was really like a miniature comedy store. It was very cool. And
Yeah.
a lot of comics who wouldn't have been able to get on anywhere else, even including yours truly, got a lot of stage time at the Dojo. So I'm just giving a little bit of that background on you, Trevor. But what I wanted to say was you've taken this, you're going to take the dojo to Austin, Texas. And Austin,
Yeah.
Texas is for the most part, it is an interesting city, but it's a middle America. I mean, when a comic goes into Austin, Texas, they're touring. They're there for a week and then they leave. Usually.
Yeah.
So you're going to open up LA style comedy. You're going to open up like showcase comedy with headliners popping in and doing time and stuff in Austin.
Yeah, that's the goal is to do exactly what we did at the dojo in LA and do it here. I'm getting to that point. I've got obviously the contacts from LA, some New York comics, not a whole lot of Chicago comics, just a few. But I really got my feet wet in LA and the stand up comedy scene. So that's I tell people I'm a Chicagoland kid, but an LA comic. So it's just giving credit where credit is due, and I was really able to do a lot in LA versus Chicago. Chicago was stuck more doing hosting live events and doing like event planning and running large scale to small scale events all around Chicagoland, all over the country. But I kind of focused on that. But my goal when I moved to LA was to just pursue stand up and everything about it and everything around it. And then, I mean, the dojo was the biggest gift someone like me could get because I was able to do everything and manage the restaurant at the same time. So it was really cool. I had, Tripoli always said this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's a very special thing, and he's like this stuff doesn't come along ever. And he's been in the game over 20 years, so he mentored me in that way. As far as like running rooms and shows and clubs and stuff like that, I've been doing that for over 15 years. So I had a really strong grasp on how to do things. I call it from cradle to grave. I come from a corporate background a long time ago, but I got into, hospitality and event management and planning.
You were running bars before you moved to LA. You've been running bars since you
Yeah.
were in your what, early 20s?
Yeah, early 20s, I actually was in corporate America. I was an IT and telecommunications headhunter and an account executive. But I was actually side gigging, booking DJs and models, like Playboy models and stuff, all around Chicagoland at these bars and venues. I would run shows. I'd do a lot of stuff with music. And then I got this job at a bar in my mid to late 20s and started out there at the very bottom. I was a parking lot security guard and ended up AGMing the place and running all the events, booking all the bands. I started like this really cool live music, original music scene in Chicagoland. It was just I kind of just etched my name out a little bit in that scene.
What part of when you say Chicagoland? Because I'm originally from Chicago Heights. So
That's right. Yeah.
you're
You're a
from
South Sider.
Naperville.
Yes.
Right? So this was taking
Yes.
place in Naperville, I would imagine.
Technically Lisle, Illinois, which is Naperville's little fucked up offspring. So, yeah, I ran this bar called the Lodge at Four Lakes. Props to the Lodge at Four Lakes, the people that worked there and went there. It's since then the owners passed away I think 6 or 7 years ago. It's been rebranded, taken over, but that location has been in that area since I think the early 70s is when it was built. So it's crossed over names several times. So it was a huge bar, the huge stage. I mean, we had like we had nationally touring acts. We had Ariane Celeste from the UFC do a signing there. We've had UFC fighters there hang out. We've all kinds of stuff, and I kind of like curated all these different projects. As they say in swingers, I was kind of like the guy behind the guy behind the guy. But then I started to get a lot of traction because I would do a lot of bartending, and then it became like people would call me the face of the lodge, which was not the best thing I wanted to hear at the time. I didn't know how to take that. I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, no, you're out there in front doing stuff. And that's the face, because I could get out there in front and, shake hands and kiss babies and do that. And then get done and go in the back and put everything together on paper and a format and make it all happen. So it was exciting. And I love doing that shit. And that's what I'm doing now, but just with comedy. So, it's been really exciting.
Okay, well, first of all, let me say this. Thank God you got out of all that corporate shit. Second of
Yes.
all, I think that's any of us who have ever been, I have not, but for anybody like yourself who's creative and has a little more imagination than being in that, thank God for that. And tell us what it's like in Austin right now, what the comedy scene's like, maybe what it's gone through. Because how open is it? What capacity are places at? I know there are a lot of comics and a lot of touring headliners who are going to want to know, if they can actually make a living, touring through Austin right
now. Austin is open. Texas is open. I've only been here since October, so I can't speak fully for how Austin was versus how it is now. I can just speak for how it's been since I've been here. There's not a lot of comedy, but it's growing rapidly. A lot of big names have moved here other than Rogan. Rogan's here. Everyone knows that has a residency at Stubbs with Rogan. Hinchcliffe and Brian Redband that both moved here. Jason Ross moved here. David Lucas, Jamar Neighbors, and William Montgomery are all splitting a lot of time here. How shows work is most venues are at 50% capacity. So whatever it holds, just cut it in half. So if it holds 100, they can put 40 or 50 in there. So there is a way to make a living. Some venues are huge. The bar shows are blowing up because actual venues are closed because they shut down and they don't feel it's necessary to open up until they're at least 75% capacity for whatever reason, because that way they can make more money. And I understand that. So bar shows are actually thriving right now. A lot of new producers, new promoters, new comics. It's a young town as far as comedy goes from what I've experienced. A lot of people are coming here from kind of all over. It's also good because it is in the middle. It's in the middle of Texas and it's in the middle of the country. So geographically, it makes sense to be here at least temporarily, full time, whatever. You can
Trevor,
get in and out here easily.
Trevor, I have to cut you off.
Yes.
Trevor, am I freezing up on your end? Because you're freezing up on my end.
No, you're blurry, but I
This
still
is just
see
part
you.
of being in the no idea zone, brother. It's just part of the no idea zone.
Yeah.
But I can hear you perfectly, so you can just go on. I just wanted to know what was going on my technical end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, as far as stand-up goes, quite a few people, a lot of newer comedians in the open mic scene and getting booked on shows, showcase scenes, or shows. But it's been really, they've embraced me here. It's been cool. You know, it's a very interesting because I'm not used to these smaller scene. Is, you know, next to LA, New York, fight for the, you know, the biggest stand-up comedy scene in the country. So I kind of came from that scene where I was not just doing stand-up and doing shows. I was overseeing 2 rooms and my restaurant and getting up. So it's definitely changing, kind of slow my roll a little bit because I am very assertive when it comes to getting things done. I do not like to waste time. I don't like to stall or drag. I like to get back to people immediately. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, and it's going to happen fast and quick. And I tell people, I'm like, if I could create my own flyer, I'd have shit done. Sorry, this fucking laptop.
How was that with the LA was known for a lot of passive aggression and, you know, show business sort of flaky people. Is Austin a little better in that respect, or is it kind of the same?
Yeah, I think with stand up here, there's a lot of excitement and there's a lot of, I don't want to say fear because I don't want to make it sound derogatory or like looking down, but there's intimidation because you've got a lot of big names coming into town, and here kind of like on the reg, people are, you know, they're, you know, Houston's 3-4 hours away, Dallas 3-4 hours away, San Antonio's 2 hours away. You have comedians that can do Texas for an entire week if they wanted, or 2 weeks really, and hit 4 cities, including Austin, to do comedy and do good sized shows. So what I've seen is that, you know, I've been fine. I stay out. You know me, dude. I'm old man out here, not just the gray beard. Like I'll be 43 in a few months. Like I work with a lot of younger people in their 20s and even 30s, and I still feel old. And you know, and that's a good thing. And I'm not, you know, but I also, I got groomed and I worked with the best in Los Angeles. I tell people I'm no fucking pro. I'm not going to tell you how to write and what to write or anything.
You know how
I say I take information.
You're a pro when it comes to running a show. You
yeah.
And running comedy. Would you say you, through your time at the dojo, like give us some examples of things you learned you didn't know shit about when you first started running, and then you sort of, you know, got hip to as you were learning?
I would say writing a lineup. You know, that was really important. Where to put people in a lineup. You know, if you've got somebody that's softer, you want to put them up front. You know, as far as their comedy goes, somebody that can just nail it, you put them in, you know, in the middle, or how to someone, you know, people that follow. You know, it's like, you know, I learned that from just I go to the Comedy Store before I launched the dojo. I go to the Comedy Store sometimes 5 days a week, and I'd go there in the OR from open to close. I'd be there to watch Don Veras close out the room. And I would look at the lineup, and then I would kind of analyze how these comics did after each other, especially, you know, up front and in the middle, and who follows who and how they follow. And it's basically, I tell it, I mean, it's like writing a batting lineup. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing.
Sports is helpful. If you understand sports from a player or coach's perspective, you can really understand putting a comedy show together. Because you are putting a lineup together, a roster.
Yeah, and it was exciting. I'd be like, okay, who's going to follow who? Like Mike Muratori, who's going to follow that animal? Like, how do you follow that animal at a dojo show?
Put me on.
Yeah, yeah. Someone can handle the heat, you know, because you don't know where Mike's going to go. You don't know if people are going to love it or be like, what the fuck just happened here? This guy's insane. So you've got to have somebody that can kind of keep it going. but kind of also like level it off a little bit. You don't want to put a new person or someone that can't handle a crowd after that type of performance after him, because then it just can get really like, just, you don't want that energy to drop off. So
Okay.
stuff like that. Um, I mean, everything else, it's as far as running a show in a room, I did it for so long, and I truly love it. Like,
Was
I
that
love
3
it.
years, 4 years? How long did you have it there
Um,
in LA?
well, I had the room itself for over 4 years, because I was doing shows there on my own and with TK from Rebels of Comedy. He did those bringer shows there. I was doing,
TK
yeah,
Madison. Shout out.
yeah. I was doing his shows. He was doing 2 or 3 times a week. I was doing his shows, and I would hit mics a little bit. But I started producing my own shows. And then I had met Sam before that. And then Sam and I reconnected at one of the shows he split with TK. So TK and Sam did a split show, and it was awesome. It was the first technically Dojo show, which was like in June before I took over the room in October. And it was fun. And so I would say about 4 years of comedy there. And I started doing stuff there like right when TK came in, the managers at the time, because I was just like a whatever bus or like a bar back server, bartender, whatever, just in everything. The manager there at the time, he's like, "You're the only stand-up comic we have here, so I'm going to have you work all of his shows." And I was like, okay. And then I talked to TK. He's just like, "Oh, you're a comic? Yeah, get on a show." So I got on a show, and like the first like booked show I got on, where I actually like got on a flyer and all that, was with Jonathan Kite, who is from Skokie outside Chicago. So that was really cool. But yeah, we had the dojo for 3.5 years technically, I think, right around there. Yeah.
Well, I say I was doing shows with you. I don't think I discovered the dojo till you'd already been doing it a year.
Yeah.
Um, I came in probably at the beginning of 2018, I think. And
Okay.
I saw, from my limited, because toward the last year, I was there a lot with you, just hanging out. I mean, I would,
You were. Yeah.
I wasn't even performing. I just liked the energy. It was good energy. And
Yeah.
and just for those of you watching this, these were rough shows. Like a
Mm.
lot of times, it was like, and my friend Ricochet ran shows like this in the hood. Sometimes you'd have 7 people. Sometimes you'd have
Yeah.
12 people. And the room is great. The room was a classic place to be, but it wasn't like an easy thing. Um, and I remember when I first started, this is from my limited perspective, but when I first started, you had different guys running your shows because you were too busy running the restaurant. And you had a
Yes.
couple guys running your shows. They were comics, whatever, like pro-am. Maybe they
Yeah.
got paid a little here and there, but they weren't good comics. They were, whatever. They were good managers. And
Yeah.
I remember about 6 months later, those guys weren't running the shows anymore. You had other people running the shows, and they were getting better. I was noticing that. I was noticing the shows
Yeah.
getting better, the audience is getting better, the audience is staying longer.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that's kind of a loaded question because I noticed I wanted to ask you that, but I noticed your shows
Yep.
transforming, and there goes Walter Payton, transforming and getting better, and also my sets at the dojo getting easier. We're getting easier.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I noticed it. So kudos to you for that, brother. And as far as being a Chicago comic, I am not a Chicago comic. I started my
Yeah.
comedy career in Florida. I just, you can't be from Chicago and not be proud of the comedy that's come out of Chicago. So that's kind of
Yeah.
why I associate myself still. Well, first of all, what the fuck has ever come out of Florida? And being an LA comic, I don't know if it has, I don't know. There's just something about being from Chicago that's very proud. City of broad shoulders. Bill Murray,
Yep.
Richard Pryor's from Peoria. Robin Harris is
Yeah.
from Chicago. I mean, you want to go down the list of the great, super, like legendary comedy that's come out of fucking Chicago. So
Yeah.
that's just why I'm embarrassed that I didn't start there, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I did Second City there in my early to mid 20s for a couple of years. I took a lot of their classes, their improv acting classes and the writing classes. I kind of got my feet wet with that, but I was young and I had an attitude. I was like, I don't want to spend 10 years here and $20,000 to maybe go on stage. It's like, I know that you
What it
had to go
costs?
through their
$20,000?
I'm making that number up, probably a lot less, probably like
But it
$2,000.
doesn't cost
But I
anything
was
just to wait at an open mic is the point.
exactly, and I was doing stand up in Chicago, just not. It wasn't at clubs. I was doing some open mics, and then the bar I ended up running. I used to open for bands there, and the GM at the time's like, "I'll give you 10. Can you do 10 minutes?" He didn't know about stand up, and I was like, "Okay." I didn't know 10 minutes was a lot for a guy that didn't do a lot of stand up. So I'm
Wow.
going up there with pieces of paper, jokes written out like verbatim, and I'm kind of reading off it, and then I'm like, I gotta, do a little off the cuff stuff here and get the crowd because I don't want to just read off a piece of
Dude,
paper and look like an amateur.
you've had fucking blessings, man. You know how many comedians would kill for that fucking chance to just that great like these learning places you've had between
Yeah,
your rooms and that's awesome. That is really awesome.
yeah. And I never took the dojo for granted ever, not once. I never played it off or was I just always was like this. One day it will end. I'll never have this forever. Something, just I didn't think it was this weird COVID shit, but I just knew, and I knew to just treat it right and cultivate it as much as I could, because at the end of the day, I was concerned about other people getting up. I had between you and every other motherfucker in town, I had people,
Yeah.
hitting me up
Harassing
constantly.
you.
Yeah. Can I get up? Can I get booked? And the thing about the dojo and how I ran it was I booked independent producers and promoters and they ran shows.
Right.
So
Most
I
of the
didn't
week.
run
Most
all
of
the
the week.
shows.
Most
What's
of the
that?
week. Most of the week.
Yeah.
And
Yes. So
once a week or twice a week, you'd have your own show.
yeah, I would have my own shows because it was just a lot of work on top of all the other work, but I loved it, so I didn't care. So I'd have my own shows, and then I'd run like some other like off-brand stuff, and then after a year, I opened the Dojo Annex, which was the small showroom slash pretty much a mic room, but I also did small shows in there, and people that were new to promoting or producing. And there was a lot of like, I don't want to do that room. I want to go upstairs. And it's like, I don't, you've never booked a show in your life. You've never ran a show. What gives you the right to just say, I can put 90 people in that room? Because I took a lot of heat from the people above me, ownership, when they said, that why do I have, why is the room, open for 3 or 4 hours and there's X amount of dollars and, rang up. And I'm like, it was a small show. And it was like, and I had to take a lot of
It's a lot
shit in order to help that
right?
place
Because some of
grow.
those people you book into that room wouldn't come through. They wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
pull their weight. So that was another learning experience. So that must have been another learning experience for you. Who's
sure was.
like we can't just hand out shows like fucking, this is not sitcoms in the 80s here.
Exactly. Great way to put it. And it was, it was a learning curve at the beginning. I had Rogan run his special there within 6 months of opening, of branding the room. I mean, that was huge. And he's kind of the guy that gives the blessing when it comes to things like that. And it was obviously a big deal, and it was an amazing show. And I got to perform on it towards like at the very end, I think. I think I closed
Did
it
you get
out.
him through Sam?
Yeah, yeah. I got him through Sam. So Sam was my connection to a lot of people, obviously, because he's such an amazing human being all around and comic,
Amazing.
one of the hardest working guys out there. And people know that, and he was my connection to a lot of people, especially the Comedy Store comedians. And when I would go there, to see Comedy Chaos on Tuesdays, I would go there just to network. I would go there to network and watch comedy, and it's, some comedians hate watching comedy. Some, I went there because I still consider myself new. I'll consider myself new to the day I die because you're always learning something. And I did a lot of networking and met a lot of people, and they were all very cool and respectful. I never had And I think it's maybe because I had a club, it was different, but I never had it. I don't think I ever had really a negative experience with anybody, like truly negative. Some people are like, oh yeah, that's cool. Maybe I'll stop by sometime. I don't care. That means you're not going to come by. Doesn't bother me. I don't, my club had enough comics that needed people. That was our Achilles heel. Is we're so close to the three major clubs in LA, Hollywood, whatever. We were so close that comics love to drop in, work out, but I couldn't. It was hard to fill the room because people could go to the Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store, or the Improv, which we're all within 10 minutes away, and see the best comics in the world perform for $10 or even free. And I'm competing with that. But I didn't really feel like I was competing ever. I felt like we were kind of like a farm league to feed the big
You were,
rooms,
you
to
were,
feed them. Yeah.
and that's what you were actually creating you didn't realize that you were satisfying a demand. I hate to sound like a business guy, but there was a demand. There was a tremendous oversupply of comedians, and there was a demand for them to perform somewhere.
Yes.
And you were creating little did you know, you had a perfect opportunity in that location to create what you did to satisfy the demand for all those
Yeah.
comedians. Because really the last 10 years of comedy has been, you know what I mean? I don't mean to sound too cynical, but having been in it 25 years, having seen the transformation from the huge comedy audience that was there to the audience becoming comedians.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. So, and I'm not judging it by saying that. I'm just pointing it out. I don't have feel. I'm not right at the moment expressing any ill will toward it. But you were savvy enough to, and the Comedy Store is too. The Comedy Store understands all that shit with their potluck and their Kill Tony and all that shit. They understand that their audience are comedians.
Yeah.
And so they have to cater to that. It's just part of the free market, man.
Yeah.
And you figured that out, whether it was just by fortune or by your own savvy or a combination of those things. Um, and but I can tell you this, they definitely treated you better because you were coming in with a place, and because
Yeah.
you were coming in with Sam. And I know because Sam is like a good luck charm. If you know him,
Yeah.
and he is loving to everybody, even people he doesn't agree with. He just loves everybody. And but the Comedy Store is a pretty great compared to the other fucking clubs in LA. The Comedy Store is an oasis. It's laid out perfectly for comics who are new. It's a great place to hang out and have fun. You've got
Yeah.
open micers mingling with superstars. It's super
Yeah.
fucking cool, man. I really
It
do. I
was.
think the Comedy Store is my one regret in my career is I didn't go hang out sooner, more
Yeah.
at the Comedy Store. So
Yeah. It's a really special place, and you can feel that vibe in there. I remember the first time I walked in, I was like, I don't feel like I'm here. I feel like I'm somewhere else. And I walking around the hallways with all these black and white and colored headshots, and I'm like, where am I? Just doesn't feel here. And they were able to keep it so authentic and not change it to look to look like it's like a room full of tchotchkes. It looked really cool and it had an ambiance and the energy. I'm an energy guy. If I go to a room and I don't like it, I'm like, I don't want to do a show here. It could be a great room for someone else. I literally sit there, I will vibe out. The first show I ran out here, it was like my second or third week I was in town, and I met up with a guy at a bar that was actually a music venue, and I just stopped and I'm like, I love the vibe here. And I just stood there in the doorway and I'm like, this is good energy. I like this place. And then the next time I'm in, I randomly meet the owner who was bartending. One thing led to another. I booked a show, and that's the place that's closed down right now, the Green Jay, which is a great venue, and it's right by Stubbs in the Red River District, which is a famous live music area of Austin. And I'm just waiting for that to reopen, but I picked up 2 rooms in the meantime, and it's cool because all the places that I've looked or I picked up or picking up are different parts of town. It's not all like within the same area. So as far as like kind of like combat goes, I'm putting my bases
you're
around
strategic.
town rather
Yeah,
than
you've got a good
yeah.
strategy going. It's funny.
Yeah. And
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just I initially wanted to just have a club full time, but I'm like, it's gonna be a while because it's just the way things are, I've got to be a little more humble about it. So I just was like, okay, I'll just kind of pick through and grab rooms in different areas.
Well, I think personally, this is going to be, first of all, you were ahead of your time a little bit with the dojo. You were ahead of your time a little bit. Nobody could have really known that. I'm not saying there
Yeah.
aren't other independent comedy proprietors who weren't also ahead of their time, because I just interviewed one. We're going to have another episode with someone in a different part of the country, but I really believe it's going to be a renaissance for somebody like you, especially, who's not just new at this, has been in it for a minute now and has
Yeah.
run shows and understand the nitty gritty, and also understand, like, you're really good at knowing what people to work with. Like, for instance, our mutual friend,
Yes.
Al Bamani. So, you know, you're really good at choosing, and you know a lot of shit, and you're kind of right there as the waves coming, right? The waves
Yeah.
about to come. And
Yep.
a lot of these places, like these bigger clubs, are going to have problems. They're going to
Yeah,
have
they
trouble.
are. They are.
Places like yours are going to be popping up. People aren't going to have to pay $75 to park, to eat, to drink, and for a ticket. They're not going to have to pay, 75 or $100. And
Yeah.
comics are just going to want to do stand-up. Headliners, I can already see it. Headliners are desperate to just get out
Yeah.
and work, and at one moment when we said 50% capacity, you're thinking, well, what kind of comic headliner who's worth the shit is going to come on for making 50% less? Because that's what that means.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but if people are, like you're saying, are splitting their time between LA and Austin, they're already there. They don't need,
Yeah.
they don't need so they're already coming to do Rogan or whatever. So
Yeah. Brett Ernst was just in town.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he did this place called the Romo Room, which is inside of the Brass Tap, which is a big bar out here, huge bar. And it's called the Domain, which is this giant outdoor shopping mall. And he did Friday, Saturday, 7 and 10 slots, and it was packed every night. Packed. And he annihilated. He did so well. It was great. I haven't hung out with Brett in probably 2 years, and he actually headlined my very first show I ever produced.
Really?
And that's when I could still host. Yeah, before it was the Dojo. It was just like
before the Dojo. Come on, give us we want the Lord of the Rings history here. So.
It was just an empty room with brands. We would just brand the show. So it was when TK was there, it was the Rebels of Comedy show at Sycamore Tavern. I had some really tacky names I did. One of them was the Pleasure Dome. It's tacky stuff, but I was just having fun. I didn't take it too seriously yet. I was able to put together a show, put together the flyer, put together a lineup, write the lineup, all this stuff. And I was so new, but all my the shows I ran, these like one-off shows, the lineups were great. I had Jonathan Kite, Brett Ernst, like I said, he headlined my very first show. At the time, we had one speaker working and a microphone that was janky and busted. And it was, I had, Aaron Darling was there. I had all like just a great lineup. And I was like, people are like, you've got a really good lineup for never doing this. And I'm like, I just know how to network and talk to people. And I know what's funny, it's like, I just know. I'm like, this person's good. And it was, I didn't realize that these bar shows and shows like this, comics just wanted to use it as a workout room. I didn't really understand a workout room until I had my own.
Another learning.
Yeah.
Point. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was so cool because since I was a kid, I understood working out as a comic. I knew that concept. I understood it. But to not just do it myself as an open micer, but to have a space. Like I am the guy, I have the workout gym. Sam and I have this workout room where comics can come to stretch before they actually go and hit a major show, because the Comedy Store blew the fuck up. And you saw comics in the main room that are doing like some fucking A-level material because they got 400 people in there. They don't want to go there and kind of dick around. I don't know the process, but that's what I saw. Seeing comics, headlining comics, A-list comics, doing that show, doing that room. They use the OR more to work out, but knowing how many comics were in town and getting passed, and it was like this, just the giant wave that's kind of happening here, of stand-up comedy happening, and then all the people kind of getting into comedy that were maybe writers or actors or whatever or something, and getting into comedy. So it's like kind of making more room for other people. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can. And then at one point I was doing 6 nights a week, 4 shows a night, 2 up and 2 down. I was running everything. And the cool part about being a comic, I was getting on every single show. So I could work out 4 times a night, and not have to leave and essentially get paid. I was doing 5 to 7 minute sets, which is great. I was able to get tight 5.
That's what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing.
Yes.
Which is another
Get
thing.
those.
Which is another thing. Goes to your sensibility of kind of, because there's a lot of guys who run shows who shouldn't be doing time, and they go do 15, 20 minutes on their own show, and people believe people get comedy fatigue, because they see too many comics who shouldn't be doing that, and I see that, man. Believe me, I've seen that. I've seen that on road shows where I booked a headline. I did a road show where I was booked a headline. The promoter put on approximately an hour and a half of stand-up before I got on. He expected me to do 45 minutes after that. I went up and did 25, 30 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it happens all the time. Sometimes it's real professional, it's super, but sometimes you have that. And on shows where it's not a showcase, it's a, so you believe me, you're in the top percentile, brother. You're on the top of the curve. You're the head of the class, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I want to also get into, and we started a little late, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, because just to give you the No Idea Zone style here, as I have my Walter Payton covering up my fucking air freshener and my unfolded laundry here, just to give you the seriousness of this podcast. I couldn't even get into my own fucking podcast this morning. That's how bad that's how No Idea Zone this really is, people. Okay. So Trevor was actually there waiting, and I was like it said waiting for the host to start your podcast. I went, I'm the fucking host. How are you waiting for me? Anyway, we're here now, and I want to discuss a couple other things that, besides Trevor's business acumen, okay, and his creating an underground scene for comedians, which a lot of you comedians are watching to hear. But I also want to bring up some of the interesting jobs you've had. When I say interesting jobs, I would like to start with the last job that you were let go from as Speaker of the House. Tell us a little about that, because this is when, like, you're very serious in business and shit, but this is when you really shine, and I see how funny you are. Really, no offense to the stand-up thing, but that shit makes me laugh. So tell us some of the other jobs. Weren't you postmaster during the period when there was a little controversy with that? Share a little bit of that with us.
I've been head postmaster of the United States of America. I have been Speaker of the House of the United States of America, and I'm currently the shitting president of the United States of America. I've had a number of other jobs and opportunities as well.
Facebook takes those down. So what he'll do is he'll post that he just started his new job. You'll see someone post, hey, I just started my new job, and everyone gives him a high five, congratulations, best of luck. This motherfucker posts he's Speaker of the House of Representatives the day the fucking Capitol was raided. And then he posts, Facebook took down my new job.
They did. They took down my Speaker of the House position that I held. And
How long did you hold that, Trevor?
I think 24 to 48 hours. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't get a notification that I was no longer Speaker of the House, so it was insulting to me. And when I tried to register again as Speaker of the House, Facebook denied that request, and I was no longer Speaker of the House. So I said, "Oh, I guess I got a promotion," and they allowed me to be the shitting president of the United States of America. So I'm here today.
I didn't see that one. Is that one currently up there?
It's currently up and still up. So I'm proud
because it's shitting. Because it's shitting. They haven't. It hasn't fixed their algorithm yet.
It hasn't, and because I'm a smart person, I don't spell shit the way that you would spell shit. Because I have my own
right. Yes, another one of your nuances, one of your
Yep.
not so subtle. Another thing I really enjoy, I'm getting off on a tangent now, is your incredible man love relationship with Mike Muratori. Can you share a
Oh
little
my
bit of
God.
that on that online? That is an
Big,
incredible thing.
that's Big Bear and Little Bear. I love Mike. I basically, anytime he says anything on any sort of social media, I tell him to go fuck himself, or to eat shit. That's my favorite response to
With a
anything
Y,
he
shit
does.
with a Y. That's how he spells it.
That's right. Shit with a Y.
Shite.
A lot of stuff, but I love Mike to death. We talk a couple times a week. He's one of those just special creatures out there in the world, and he's completely convinced that my sexual preferences are not what they are. He thinks they're other things, because that's the
You really do. You really do. You
yeah
chase him
yeah
around like there's some man love there, and he can't get away from you. And he doesn't
oh,
even
it's
try. I
great.
don't think he even tries anymore.
No, he doesn't. He just accepts it. He just accepts the love.
There's a prison thing going on there that you've achieved.
Yes, there is.
There's like a Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
good. That's
Myron
very good,
Hadley
yeah.
and Boggs and Myron
Yeah,
Hadley. You two. I don't know which
yeah.
one's which. Hey, what? So Facebook's taken down your posts. What were some of the
Yeah.
other jobs? The first time you did that, by the way, because when someone posts, "Oh, I have a new job. I'm starting my new job," and also a lot of people knew that you were out of a job because
Yeah.
Sycamore Tavern had closed. So the first time you did that, I went, "Holy shit! He's got a what? He's doing? What the fuck? Oh, this is a prank."
Yeah. Well, the stuff I was doing is basically anything that was hot at the moment, politically or socially.
Right.
That's what I became the leader of. And I would say, if it was like the fire departments were all the fire departments were what do you call it? Like protesting or saying or saying something about something, I would say I'm the head fireman of the United States. I'm the fireman captain now. And it was constantly playing into whatever.
Right.
Fire chief, yeah, the head fire chief. Just anything that was, and it was based on the fact that anytime there's a topic, a hot topic, politically, socially, which is essentially the same thing nowadays, that everyone knew, because everyone had an opinion, but everybody knew because of something they read, because we all read what we want to read, and that's what we believe. We don't ever accept the other piece of information, which is, a whole nother narrative to a story. And I would just say that was my new position. I was the leader of that. So anything, and this is going back, I think I started this in the summer when the protest happened, and it was like, I gotta have fun with this.
Yeah, which one? What was because I know when the post office thing was going on, where the postmaster was like, "We're gonna not let people vote by," you decided that you were taking that job.
Yeah.
And so, what was it during the summer with the protests? What was that?
God, I'm trying to remember. I did it probably a dozen or two times. There's a lot of stuff I randomly.
Here's what you need to do, brother. Like take this to the fucking house, okay? Like this is not a. You need to put those down on a fake resume. You need to create a fake resume. Go back and find those. And also specify the length of time. The 48 hours or
48 hours.
So you were removed from the position. I mean, I love practical jokes, man. I love practical jokes.
It's my favorite.
Did anybody take those seriously? Did anybody chime in and go?
Yes. I had people messaging me about the head postmaster job. Legit. Oh man, congratulations. I'm like, I had people asking me, I had people say, "Oh, you got a job as the head postmaster. What happened to Sycamore Tavern?" I'm like, the head postmaster of the United States of America.
They just want the stage time. They don't really care.
Yeah, exactly.
They're wondering if they can get on.
Exactly. Are you running a mic there? You doing a mic? Can I get 5 minutes on your show? Like, what? Do you fucking even read what I did or what's happening in the world? Like,
oh my gosh, man.
That was the one thing I went through during the shutdown. The beginning was all the comics just, hey, when's Sycamore reopening? And then when there was that time in June when they actually opened indoor dining at half capacity, I had people hit me up out of nowhere that I literally looked. I'm like, I haven't heard from you since December, and you just are asking me casually how I'm doing. you know exactly. I knew. I'm like 5 steps ahead. I was like,
Yeah, but you have to be gentle with them because they are just, it's a desperate,
I know.
some of them are obnoxious, but some of them are just, I remember being that comic who just needed, who needed that
Yeah.
battery, so
I'll be, at every comic's got to, we've all had to think outside the box. A lot of us, I didn't do Zoom shows. I'd said I'd rather not do comedy than do Zoom shows. It was just tough for me to try and make people laugh because I use a lot of physical comedy and I'm like, I'm just a head on a screen. Like, it was hard for me personally, but I give respect to the people that were able to do it and it's an avenue. But I said live comedy. I want to resurrect live comedy, and I couldn't do it in LA. But at least the cool thing about LA or California in general is you can do these outdoor shows. So you can go to a park, you can go to a backyard, you can do something because it's warm. New York, Chicago, you can't. It's too cold. They're not going to do it. Here in Austin, they have a lot of outdoor shows all around town and outdoor mics because it does get actually kind of cold here at night, but it's not like
nothing like
yeah.
20 below zero or
No, and it snowed once here, so it's not like snow and cold and wind and this just god awful Chicago, New York weather. It's just like it gets cold and that's it. So they do that. They've got the outdoor stuff here, which is cool, and of course indoor stuff, which I just I'm like I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep doing indoor shows, book shows, showcases, whatever, and do it the way I did, and I'm not gonna budge. But I'm also not like I'm adjusting and adapting to the to things, but I also know that this can continue to grow. And comedy here is just like there isn't even like a big wave of comics yet. There is, but there isn't. I'm like, there's a handful of people I know and that have actually moved here, including myself. And then there's people that are kind of coming through and kind of teetering and everyone's just kind of it's like there's like birds flying over like a carcass, but not every one of those birds is like a vulture. It's like this weird thing where it's just everyone's
people are
kind of waiting.
confused. There's a confusion,
Yeah,
sounds like,
yeah,
where people kind of don't
there's
know how to assimilate into whatever's happening yet.
yeah, there's a weird energy, and not in a bad way. It's just I come from the knowledge and the experience of working with the best of the best in the business, and I also come with the experience of running live and not just live shows, but events and shows of everything. Dude, I ran a huge thing with the UFC years ago at the Mandalay Bay. Like I've done big scale events, small scale events. I worked expos, I worked convention centers. I did all this stuff on the side with my sister's company, and then I also would go back to my normal job, which was running this enormous. By the way, my old bar was huge. It wasn't a small place. You could fit 500 people inside the bar itself, and that's on top of 2 outdoor patios that could fit 100 people each. So there was times where I was there and there was 700 people in the entire venue, including the outdoor patios. So I'm not a stranger to large events and dealing with that type of stuff and just having eyes that are 5 times the size they should be, just being able to see and experience everything. So when I do these, what's that?
Yeah, how are the Austin, from your perspective and your experience, how are the Austin comedy people, or people who are in that, whether they're in the club scene or there's comics, how are they generally reacting to you guys, LA folk coming? Are they accepting and excited? Or are they generally like, fuck these LA people, what the fuck? Or how?
I think it's like it's a milkshake. It's no, it's not a milkshake. It's a jambalaya. I have a lot of different feelings. It's what I've personally experienced. Um, I've seen people that are excited to have these big names here because they're going to attract everything. But I think there's not an intimidation, but it's the not so big names that are really good, strong comics and been doing it. Someone that's 30 that's been doing it 10 years.
That's causing confusion. That's causing some confusion.
You've got someone the same age as someone on the show that's got 5 times, 3 times, double the experience of people there. So, and it's a different type of experience. I'm rugged. You know, like I talk about what I want to talk about. I don't want to ever cater to a crowd unless I'm ad-libbing or just kind of working a room or having fun. But I'm going to tell my jokes my way to a certain degree. I mean, the first thing I was ever taught when I was 20 years old by a professional musician was always know your room, know the room, know the audience. Like if a joke, like not many people know where Naperville is in Austin. So I use Georgetown which is a suburb far north of here, as a reference to one of my jokes. They're not going to understand Naperville. They're not going to understand Chicago land. I used to do a bit about being from Chicago land, and it didn't connect with people. But the people that knew Chicago understood the joke. So, it's kind of that balance of do I want to cater to everybody or I want to cater to the select few? So it's finding what it is you really want to accomplish as far as your routine goes and stuff like that. But it's been cool, but there's also been like I'll meet someone and like I said, I'm an old dog here. I embrace the gray hair. I used to dye my beard all the time. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
fuck
look
it.
older with the beard, brother. Not that you didn't have a
Yeah.
beard here, but you got the whole
It was
Burley Adams thing going on. The whole
yeah.
not Burley, Burl Ives. You got like a Burl Ives thing going on with that beard. You could be in a fucking Western as like the patriarch of the
I
family.
just
That beard, dude.
yeah. I was like, I got to keep the gray beard. I throw the dark beard on. I look like I'm 30 tops. I shave it. I don't look a day over 30.
Right, you
I
don't
got lucky with the face.
testify to that. He looks like a very young
Yeah.
kid without the beard.
So yeah, I go out there and and I meet a lot of people and I'm like, it's cool because the dojo name traveled here. People that I've never met before, mostly comedians and stuff like that, knew of the dojo. They were familiar with it. They heard it on the
Really?
same podcast. Yeah, there's comics, that had gone through Los Angeles to do mic scene or like hang out and go hang out, whatever, do shows. And they actually did the dojo. They did the mics there. I've had people come up to me like, "Oh, I loved your room. It was really cool, like the free parking, and it was a big place, and I could go do a set and then hang out and have something to drink and eat. And then there's usually another mic after that. And I could go back because I was running, towards the end, I was running 2 mics every night downstairs. Monday through Saturday, I had 2 mics a night. And I think occasionally I would run 3 mics in one night. So I had things moving. I had upstairs going. It was just like it was kind of like running itself. So I didn't go in the mic room a whole lot. I would always get up. I'd always go and close out the mic and do like 5-10 minutes and just have fun. But a lot of people that have come up to me and they know of the dojo. Some people like shake my hand and I feel really weird and awkward and they're flattering me like, you've done a great thing for comedy. I'm
You
sorry
were
that what
known more than
happened.
you thought you were. You were known
Yeah,
more than you knew, basically.
and the fact that and I don't say it's not an ego thing. I'm very proud of what I've done. I treated people pretty good there. I mean, there's a few people I'm sure I pissed off or shit on, but overall, I think I was batting in the top echelon of
Well,
treating
also
people.
considering how the people who usually run comedy rooms
Yeah,
treat
yeah,
people, yeah, you were in the top percentile of that for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't
and
have
I
been
and I
hanging out at your place, dude. I
yeah.
wouldn't have been hanging out at your place. I'm a super sensitive to that stuff when I get around somebody who's lick the ass above and kick the ass below and type person. I just
Yeah,
didn't get into comedy to be around people like that. So immediately
yeah,
I knew
exactly.
you weren't that kind of guy. Plus, we met through Sam, remember? You and I met
Yeah,
through Sam at ATC. We went into the
that's
at
right. That
Brody's
was
Brody's Memorial. Yeah,
yeah, his memorial. That's 2 years next month.
yeah.
I think it's 2 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
two
Wow,
years next
time
month.
flies, man. Time
Yeah,
flies. That's 2 years next month. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's been but overall, it's been a good experience here. As far as the embracing because it's I'm humble about it. I still go to mics. I get up on a mic. I perform. I do my 5 minutes. I don't run lights. I don't. I ask local promoters, hey, can I get on a show? And then they, might see me at a mic and they probably think, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm working stuff that's like completely raw at a mic. I need to work it 1 or 2 times and then I go and I can work it out on stage because I know how to kind of where to put certain things. I got lucky. I got so lucky working with the best and I tell people I fast tracked. I was able to do, 4 shows a night, 6 nights a week for years. Like I was getting up more than a lot of people, and I was lucky. And I was also forced to be better quicker because of who I was working with on some of these book shows. It's like, you've got to follow so and so, you've got to do this. Like my 1-year sobriety show, I look back at those pictures and I'm like, oh my God, this is one of the best lineups I've ever seen in my life for the dojo. And it's like, Joe DeRosa and Whitney Cummings and Michael Rappaport and Tripoli was there.
Yeah, Michael
And it's just
Rappaport there a lot. I remember seeing Jamie Kennedy and Michael Rappaport on. I never did any shows with them.
Yeah.
Chance, but I saw them on posters and flyers a lot for the dojo. And also
Jamie actually he wanted that to be his workout room, and he worked out a lot there. So, and he'd come in at the end and close out the show and just do 20 to 40 minutes, and it was cool. It was cool to give that to people.
Yeah, and also just to talk you up a little more, Jeff Garland did his he had a free viewing before his special came out for any comic who wanted to come, and he bought everybody drinks. It was only for comics, and Trevor did that. And also Jimmy Dore regularly taped his shows, his live shows, his podcast, which is a fucking huge thing at the dojo. He loved the dojo. So there were a lot of things. I didn't mean to make it sound like it was just, when I say it was a miniature comedy store, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The comedy store has that feel of, you have all the big guys hanging with the nobodies, and you have the in-betweeners too, and so that's what, when I say that, that's, I forget to leave that stuff out, but that was also happening there.
Yeah.
And
that was big.
Yeah, dude, I want to just say this thing to you. I really, because I know you started stand-up as a grown man. I mean, you were already a grown man. You had, different than me. I was 19 when I started stand-up. I think Sam probably was also a kid. He was very young. He's been doing stand-up a little longer than me. But if I could go back and give advice to my younger self, and it's really, by the way, I know I would have a hard time taking this advice, but I would say, don't be in such a hurry to get it all exactly right, and try to have fun, and try to just have fun and be in the moment and have fun. And if you do that, you're going to learn more. You can't script what you're going to learn. And I know that's scary, but you're going to learn more and know more than the comics who are reciting their routines. And you're going to be able to do something the comics who are reciting routines up there cannot do. It's a lot more fun to be able to learn comedy that way than these poor fucking, and not everybody's a comic like that. Some people are Ray Romano and Jerry Seinfeld. They're going to get up with a script. They're going to read their fucking joke the same way every time. But I just could not enjoy comedy if I did that, so.
Yeah. I agree, man. It's I talk to comics here that, they're 30 years old and they just got into comedy. So they got in a little bit, and essentially later in life than some people. And they ask me for a kinds of advice. I'm like, I don't have a lot of it. I have advice to give you, but I don't know if it's warranted. I did it for 6 years in LA. And then I first time I ever did comedy, I was 22. I did an open mic when I was living in Phoenix, and then sprinkle in, a dozen or 2 mics after that. And then, I did a lot of live events. So I was able to work, work on my feet and interact with people and kind of play off people and that type of thing. But it's trust the process. And I think the most exciting thing is when you find your voice. It's like you find your voice as a comic. And I've heard out here from a couple of the newer, younger comics that I just interacted with or was having a discussion with, and they say I'm kind of like, or I want to be like, and I just want to shake them and be like, no, you don't want to be like this person. You want to be like yourself. Don't fucking try to be like Richard Pryor or Jim Gaffigan or Jerry Seinfeld or Eddie Murphy. Be you, because if the crowd's going to see that. If you're trying to be somebody else, they're just like, oh, he's a hack. These are audience members that don't really understand what a hack is, but like, oh, he's just being so-and-so. And I see that, and it's like, no, tell your story. You'll find your voice. Right. Don't fucking sell out for that. And And man, when I really found my voice a couple years ago, and it's also because I'm older and I've been through a different life path than some people, especially like I said, because of age. I was able to find it, and I really remember when I found it that night. It was like I had 3 comics come up to me after the show and they're like, "You changed a lot," and I go, "Yeah," I said, I did. You know, I cared so little. I stopped caring that I cared so much. I cared so much about being myself that I didn't give a shit if I fucking bomb. I said, you gotta fucking own your bomb. Take pride in bombing. Go up there and fucking eat shit. Don't think you're gonna hit home runs every time you go up to the plate. You got, you know, 3, 4 pitches. It's like, don't
This is
think
gonna
all
take
of
a
them are gonna
really
be down
long
the hole.
time, dude. Just this is the best advice I can give you.
Yeah.
This is gonna take a really long time to
Yeah.
figure out how to do. If you're not
Yep.
gonna commit 15 years to this, to
Yeah.
no suffering and misery, you might want to find some other things to put. You might some other bins
Yeah.
to put your papers in, because this is gonna be. Hey, by the way, I wanna give just a quick dojo memory. So when Jeff Garland came in, gosh, you know, and I couldn't share it at the time, but I think enough time has passed now that I can share
Yeah.
this and it'll be really funny. It was really funny to me. When Jeff Garland came in to do his Q&A, he showed us, I think we watched the concert and nobody knew he was there. Nobody knew he was there. And he showed us the concert, and I forget if it was when the concert came on and this is one of the reasons I love Mike Muratori. If it was when the concert came on or when Jeff came out to do the Q&A. And Muratori's standing to my left by the bar. And I hear him I think it was Jeff came on and he's doing the Q&A. And I hear Muratori grumble and go, I don't watch this shit. Fucking walked out. And he fucking walked out. Just like, that's one of the reasons I love him, you know? Another thing is Garland, Garland getting up and doing the Q&A, and all these young comics are there, or new comics. I shouldn't say young comics, new comics are there, and me, right? Fucking me. And Garland's like, you're supposed to be fucking terrible. You're supposed to eat shit. You're gonna eat shit.
Yeah.
Learn to eat shit and know that you're gonna suck. You're gonna suck over and over. And I'm laughing at it because it's like watching fucking it was almost like watching a motivational speech. He was absolutely right. I'm not saying he wasn't right.
Yeah.
But it was like the couple of the comics came out of there and they were like, did you hear that? He's telling me I'm supposed to suck. Like,
yeah, they don't get it. They don't get it. It's like, I listen to comics here. They're like, oh, they have like a year plan. I'm like, a year plan? Like, you're getting up twice a week. That's not a year plan. That's a 10-year plan. Like, comedies, everyone in comedy says it takes a good 10 years till you get really good. And it depends. Whenever you find your voice, if you ever do, that's what happens. You find your voice and you're like, okay, this is what I should be writing about. This is what I should be talking about. And I've been told by a number of people in comedy and in professional entertainment what I should be doing. And I've known it the whole time. And it was stuff about my father, who passed away over a year ago. And I did not want to write and do a lot of jokes about him when he was alive, because I knew he'd be super sensitive. And I was just like, when he died, I'm like, yes, now I can talk about you, motherfucker. But by the way, I love my father.
Funny. That statement alone is deeply funny. Like, just the premise of that, Trevor, is hysterically fucking funny. The fact that you wouldn't talk about your dad when he's alive, but now that he's gone.
Oh, yeah.
The gates are open now.
He's fucked now. He's so fucked. Yeah, that was it. And I was like, and people are like, why don't you talk about your dad more? And I'm like, and I mean, my father and I were very close until the day he died. He had a rough upbringing with him, but we mended things in our own way. And I taken care of him for 8 months, 5 years ago. I left LA for 8 months to take care of him. I do a bit about it, and it's true. I was his round the clock living caregiver, for 5-6 nights a week. And I was living with them, and him and my mother, who was, at the time, she was in cancer remission, still is, thank God. But I'd taking his blood pressure, making sure he's taking his meds, cooking him 3 meals a day, all kinds of stuff. So, I put him before me, and I put my ego aside and I said, I've got to do this. And there was some resentment at first. And the second time I've ever went to confession, because I was raised Catholic. Second time I ever went to confession. And I was, this was, like I said, 5 years ago. And I walk into this church, and it just happened to be the day that the kids do their confession. So I'm sitting there at this church trying to figure out how I'm going to talk to this priest, because I don't do a lot of that stuff. I'm going to talk to this priest about shit. And I'm like, what the hell? And there's all these kids running around everywhere. And I'm like, oh man, I think I'm probably hungover. It's when I still drank. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then the teacher comes up to me and she's like, listen, she's like, today's our confession day. If you'd like to go before us, she's like, that would, and I'm like, oh, thank you. So I go into the confession booth, and the priest is in there, and he's like, oh, you're the biggest 8-year-old I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm thinking he's going to be in for a long one.
Oh, dude, he started off with a joke. Oh man,
oh, it's great.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was great. And I just needed someone to talk to, and I didn't want to talk to a friend or family member or an acquaintance. I want to talk to a fucking stranger, and I don't have money. I didn't have money for a shrink.
Right.
So what do? Yeah, you go to a priest.
People who have money for shrinks. People who have money for fucking shrinks have money for improv lessons. Let's the caste system. If you have money for improv lessons, you can afford a shrink, and you can watch IFC and relate to all of the quirky comedy on there. If you don't have money for a shrink or improv lessons, you go to a fucking priest.
Yeah.
Right? Or you go to your best friend.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's how I grew up. We didn't, I didn't do the confession thing as a kid. I lasted 3 years at CCD, and I was like, I'm out of here. I'm like, I don't like this shit. But I just needed someone to talk to that was going to give me kind of like would listen and give me some sort of like just spiritual feedback, if you will. And it's stuff I didn't want to talk about with anybody else. It was basically, I don't want to hate my parents for what I'm doing. And I don't want to feel this, I don't want to, after this, I don't want to be mad at them because I made myself do this. And, he kind of talked to me in a cool way. And I was like, all right. And it was part of getting over my ego at the time, and knowing what's best for somebody else. Sometimes it's a lot more important. And I kind of took that advice and I brought it into comedy. When I had the club, I would often give my stage time to people because I knew I could get on stage downstairs. I'm like, I'll just jump on a mic and get my time. I'll give my stage time to,
stage time to me a couple times, by the way, a couple times.
Yeah. I just knew, but because I was still going to get up that night. That was the thing. Some people could not get up. I knew I was still going to get up. And I got to the point where I was like, listen, I'm going to go up, and then you're going to have a guest drop in. And they're like, okay. And I go, that's how I run things. It's in the contract or the rules or whatever the fuck it's called. And, I had promoters flex on that. And I was like, you're fired. Like, it's really simple. There's no second show. I'm asking you to put this person up for 5 minutes. You're telling me you don't have time? That's a lie. Now you're lying to me, and I don't like that. I was like, just be straight with me. And most of the time, I'd say 95, 98% of the promoters, as long as there wasn't a second show after it, we're okay with it because we needed that flip time if there was a second show. So, as long as, and they were cool, most of them, I got to give props. But it's because I also ran. It was a mom and pop shop style. It was handshake agreements. I didn't expect anything legally, a paper. I just had that contract I had to give to people.
I remember a couple of late night rides home from wherever we were hanging out, where you were going through trials and tribulations because you had too much grace and extended too much latitude to people who were taking advantage of you. And and so, you were the good guy, in many ways, brother. I'm honored to be able to have you on. I really support everything you're doing. And I'm really proud of you for opening these rooms in Austin. And I can't wait till things get opened up again and I can come and Austin and do some, maybe I could get some paid comedy in Austin. I could do some workouts at your spot. Or maybe you could even, I don't know. Well, maybe it'll be even to the point where you can, I can be one of your paid comics, you know? So
That's the goal, man. I love handing people money. It sounds weird, but there's something really cool about giving people money. But I know at the end of the day, it's like as long as everybody eats, I'm happy. And sometimes I just can't do it. But you know my shows, the ones I booked myself, there'd be a great lineup and 3 people in the room. I'm like, I'm not even getting paid. I'm losing money now on this show.
I
So
know you did.
you know,
I saw it,
so
but you know, it is what it is, brother. It's just the
yeah.
nature of the beast. And hey, I want you to tell us. Well, obviously, you've told us a lot of what you're up to, but first of all, share with us your social media handles, so anybody who's been watching this can go and find you across social media and all of your whatever your websites, everything, Trevor.
Okay. My personals are at Trevor Cavallo, and that's TRE as in Victor ORKE as in Victor ELOH. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, not Parlor.
You got shut down
You
on
can
there.
find, yeah, you can find my new brand out here. It's called Corrupted Comedy. It's corrupted with a K. You can find that on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find the Dojo of Comedy. Hold on, right there on Twitter, Facebook, actually Twitter and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram. The Twitter Dojo of Comedy got pulled. I don't know why. It's weird.
Really?
Um, yeah, it got pulled in the summer or fall for some reason, and I wasn't posting anything but just work stuff. So that got pulled. But you can find us, the Dojo of Comedy, the Dojo ATX, and our sister company club, whatever, the Dojo East. You can find all that on Instagram, and yeah. So we've got the Dojo ATX here in Austin is shelved right now, so I'm running the Corrupted Comedy brand out here, which is technically a brand that just does, it does shows in rooms around town. If and when I get an actual full-time room or club, then the Dojo ATX could have a home here. But right now I'm focused on just getting comedy moving here and getting people working on stage and having a good time again. So including myself.
Well, thank you, brother,
Yeah.
for coming on. I'm more than happy to pimp out whatever you're doing because you are one of the good guys. And
Thank you.
as sad as I am to see you leave LA, I'm happy to have a friend in Austin, Texas that I know who's
Hell yeah.
doing stuff there, you know. So
Yeah.
so thanks for coming on, brother. And hey, people, thank you for watching my friend Trevor Cavallo. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and be part of our, subscribe to this fucker. You know what I mean? Like we need the grassroots shit happening here. So
Hell yeah.
that's it for today, and we'll see you next week on the No Idea Zone.